Okay, so I want to comment on a response that someone had made on one of my videos here, um, and it's this guy right here. Okay, let's actually
Okay.
go to
So
this
I don't know why I didn't think about it
video.
until this morning.
Okay, so is this it? Okay, so this is it. Okay, now right off the bat, okay, you can understand that from my perspective, I've been doing IT since 1994. Okay, all right. Regardless of me taking a break for 10 years to do heating and air conditioning, once you're an IT person, it just you're always an IT person. Okay, now since 1994, not only did I just get into PCs, which is the first year that Intel came out with them Pentium 100s. Okay, all right. Um, that was the first year I actually got into the computer field. Okay, all right. So when I like to say that I returned back to IT, like Return of the Jedi, that's not a joke. Okay, so now, all right, I'm gonna give you a little bit of history, which is not gonna be a lot. Okay, back in the day, I used to go to. First of all, I used to have these big ass magazines called computer magazines, right? Okay, and I would go to computer shows. Okay, back then computer shows were happening every weekend. Okay, whether they were in Baltimore, whether they were in Cockeysville, whether they were in Annapolis, it doesn't really matter. Every weekend, I would go to these shows. Okay, all right, and the price difference from you building a computer, component by component, to having it pre-built was astronomical, and to register or give an idea of what I was spending my money on as far as a level of performance, my buddy and I would always do benchmarking, okay? Until benchmarking had no effect on my decision making. Now, okay? This is a common thing. Now, keep in mind, this is not to rag on this guy, okay, whatsoever. Matter of fact, I appreciate him making his comments, okay? Now, um, so first of all, he says he does everything in his power, okay, not to use Intel or Nvidia products. Now, okay, there was a time, okay, and AMD are light years ahead of CPU market. Light years? Come on, guys. All right, let's be honest, okay? All right, every time people like AMD would wait, and you gotta keep in mind from 1994 when I got my first Intel processor, and I moved next year to AMD. I used AMD until I got back into networking. Okay, coming back to IT. All right, AMD is I was the same way. Okay, I would not buy Intel, but the whole purpose of that decision was nothing more than money. Okay, and there were things that I was not doing during that AMD era. Okay, my era that was not failing on a high level scale, meaning that once I went to Intel, okay, and it wasn't on purpose. I just happened to buy a laptop. I spent like $2 grand for that laptop, HP back then. Okay, all right, and that damn thing lasted me for decades. Okay, until it just got so slow that comparable items were just off the chart. All right, so all right, my last graphics card cost me $800. It was the MSI 1080 Ti. Okay, all right. My favorite graphics card, okay, is Nvidia. All right, across the board. Now, okay, now as I say that, I don't know if the MSI was Nvidia based or not, but I believe it was. All right, so now I don't have this mentality anymore. Okay. All right. I'm not saying what he's doing is wrong. What I'm saying is, as a professional and a IT person, all right, there is levels of growth, okay? All right? And, okay, there's no comparison to an Intel processor across the board with the things that I have to do. Now, back in the day when when my buddy and I would do benchmarking, you gotta understand, his only focus was to always buy newer equipment, okay, and benchmark it to get a higher performance. Okay, but what was the purpose of that performance? See, you gotta understand something. My computer, okay, sometimes when you watch me record a video, you are watching thousands of fucking tabs at the bottom of my video, right? And I mean down here at the taskbar, all right, because I use my computer, okay? All right, my buddy had never used that computer whatsoever, and I guarantee you, even today, as I'm 50 years old, and I was 20 back then, I was 30 years ago, I guarantee you, as of today, okay, never will he ever come close to using a PC for the functions and the things that I do, okay? All right? Now, that's normally going to be the thing, okay? Some people build PCs for games. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my gaming machines, okay? But a PC needs to perform a lot more important tasks, okay? Like rendering, calculation, floating point, all those things, okay? In order for me to have the things that I need to do on a day-to-day basis, okay? AMD has proven not to be that processor once again, okay? All right? Now, when I went to Intel, okay, when I got that laptop, the astronomical, and you gotta understand, my laptop is crushing my desktop, okay? And it's all because of a different CPU. And a laptop CPU should not be crushing a desktop CPU, all right? So what does that mean? It's not just, it's not just performance, okay? It's the stability and things that I need to do on a day-to-day basis is what makes me choose a processor, a motherboard, the RAM, the hard drive, everything. Okay, I still use hard drives with platters on them. Okay, not everything is SSD. All right, there's a reason for my decisions. Okay, all right, and the 8 terabyte hard drive that I've gotten here recently is a hell of a damn. It's a great ass hard drive. It's one of the best I've ever had. Okay, all right, and here's the thing. For what I use for, I can notice the difference in performance as far as the platters being slower and the read times and the access times. But they're insignificant for what I use that hard drive for. Okay? Insignificant. So, alright, so the guy's next comment was, then explain to me why AMD is killing Intel in the laptops, desktop. Guys, this is insignificant to why we make choices in IT. All right? And I want to make this very clear. As an IT person, okay, deep down in your soul, you know that what's right and what's wrong from a decision aspect. So, you're working in a company, okay, and you are in control of are purchasing some new servers or some new switches or routers for your corporation. Okay, so there's a press release coming out that Juniper, okay, has crushed Cisco, okay, and I want you to understand this. Okay, they crushed Cisco. So what? It took them how many years to do it? Same thing with AMD. Okay, you know how many times AMD has copied their technology, waiting for Intel to come out with their own stuff? Because Intel's not waiting for anybody; they're just coming out. Okay, all right. It doesn't matter if they're crushing it. Can it do the job that it needs to do? And I want this to be set in your brain that anytime you are making a purchase for yourself, if money is the main focus of your decision, guys, you get what you pay for. Okay? When I spent $800 on my last graphics card, I purchased it for a reason. The RAM, the stability, and the longevity of that graphics card. Okay? We're talking 10 years later, that graphics card still was never had to be upgraded because I could max out the settings in every game I had. Okay? Alright? But I spent $800 for it. Like I said, you get what you pay for. Okay? So, my decision, and trust me, there was a lot of thought put into what graphics card I really wanted, and I only wanted it for a 5-year period. It doubled that. Okay? Alright? These marketing aspects, okay? Let me tell you like this, alright? I remember when I first got into Brocade, before I got Brocade certified, okay? And their marketing of their stuff, and I want you to picture this. They're coming to my company, okay, and they're talking about all these things that Brocade can do. Okay, why they're better than this vendor, why they're better than this vendor. And my question is, okay, all right, those pie charts are great and all, but do you have show commands? Do you have demonstrations? Can you set up a lab right here and now to show me this performance increase? And of course, what do you think that answer is? All right? Of course they don't want to say no. Oh, they can't, because that's the reality. What the response is. All right. Now this is not Brocade themselves. This is a third party vendor. This is a response of, we could definitely set up a meeting later on after we get the lab set up, but that never happened. Okay, because right then and there it was clear that there was no proof. It was just a pie chart. Okay, I don't care what's happening now on the market. What I care about is, can this product that I'm purchasing allow me to continue my workload? Because right now AMD is hindering me from continuing my workload. I can't do the things that I want to do with my computer. Okay, and the last time that I remember this happening was the last time, okay, or the first, well, I should say the time that I switched from AMD over to Intel and never looked back. Okay, this AMD purchase here was not something that I caught. Okay, all right. So I was focusing on the threads. I was focusing on the cores, and the price. I mean, $800, man. I was like, wow. That's just crazy. All right, and I did get a good deal. Okay, but now that cost is increased because now I have to remove AMD from my workload, okay, because I can't even do my workload. So if you're buying, let's say, I'm only using this as an example, you're buying a Fortinet because in your mind Cisco is dead, and Fortinet is so much cheaper and everybody's going to Fortinet. Why would they pay the price of Cisco when Fortinet is so much more easier and so much more affordable? Again, you get what you pay for. Are you going to be able to do the things at the level that Cisco's doing it? Okay, guys, for 15 years I've been hearing Cisco's dead. All right, that shit goes across my ears like water flowing over a flat land. Okay, all right, seriously, it's all balanced out. I don't pay attention to it. I don't listen to it. All right, and also I do not purchase Cisco equipment just because it's Cisco, and a lot of engineers will do that. Okay, they don't want to learn Juniper, okay, or a new command line. All right, so they're not going. And matter of fact, a lot of engineers will be like, I only work on Cisco stuff. That's it. Okay, I'm a network guy. All right, I'm also an IT guy, and never in my core heart would I ever recommend something without knowing it can do the job. All right, based on stability and actually doing it. Okay, period. All right, and when I have a processor that's only 2 years old and a processor in a laptop, and I mean a very cheap laptop at that, guys, okay, crushing crushing the actual reliability and the flexibility and the scalability of what I can use that processor for, guys. I mean, that's unacceptable. All right, that's unacceptable from a consumer aspect. It is unacceptable from the concept of a so-called processor killing the market at this point and closing the gap on Intel. Trust me, Intel is not worried. All right, and trust me, their processors now, this generation and next generation, are still going to be in play. Okay, way before and way after I actually perish. Or I should have said this, way after, but you get the idea. Okay? All right? You got to understand something about IT. All right? Remember the comment that I made about when I got back into IT was because of that news report about IP version 4, running out. Guys, that was 15 years ago. Okay? 16 years ago. Talking about how IP version 6 had, was 100% going to be deployed. Okay, and there's still data centers that are built today that denies the use of IP version 6. All right? Guys, it's just talk. All right? It's just talk, and that's not what real IT guys do. All right? So, I just wanted to bring that to conclusion. All right? For the guy who made these comments, thank you very much for making the comments, by the way. Okay? There's nothing I love to have than a good decision. And people in IT have a tendency of doing this in their younger years, okay? Because they're always looking for the fastest speed and the best performance, and faster does not mean better, okay? All right? What is the purpose of having an actual VPN setup when you have to keep going back and repairing that VPN every month? That's not a stability there, all right? That's way too much manpower, all right? As a matter of fact, it'd be more cheaper, okay, to redesign your VPN structure instead of dealing with these troubleshooting aspects and this manpower every month, which is taken away from design, new architectural deployments, engineering, all that aspect, because you're spending all your time doing operations on something that is just not working. It's not reliable. So make sure that your decisions are based on the concept of doing what it needs to be done to get what you want out of that product. All right? Because right now, AMD is not cutting it. So I don't care if they're the best processor on the planet. I can't do the things that I want to do with it. Therefore, that processor is pointless. And that's exactly what this processor is to me. It is pointless. Okay? All right? And until I put an Intel in here, motherboard and processor, okay, this computer is not the computer that I need to continue on with my workload, my studies, and my day-to-day operations. So, just want to throw that out there. I'll see you guys on the next one.